Hello. I'm going to try to attempt to, well, here's a scenario. It's winter. I'm in Minnesota and it's getting really cold. And, you know, you get in your car, you start it up in the morning, you on your way to work or whatnot, you don't have any heat. I'm going to try to walk you through some steps that a technician would take in this scenario if a customer had brought his car with that complaint. I have no heat. First thing, this is a Hyundai. I'm going to use a couple different examples. That's a Buick over there, Rendezvous. First thing, there's a couple different things you got to look at when, a couple different, angles when there's a no heat condition involved. First off, a lot of times people they turn their blower motor on, which is here. Turn your fan on to high, or any of these lower settings, you have nothing. The blower motor doesn't work. Sometimes the blower motor only works on high. Now when you have that scenario where you don't have any selections except for maybe high, which is usually the case, that's a problem with the blower motor resistor on the car. The blower motor resistor, what that does is, it's down here underneath the passenger side, usually in most cases. The blower motor resistor is a set of resistors that varies the current to the blower motor itself. There's a lot of heat involved with that process. The heat tends to shorten the life of said blower motor resistor, and a lot of times, really common, like I said, quick diagnosis is you have high only on your blower motor but nothing else. None of the lower settings, only high. That is an indication that your blower motor resistor needs to be replaced. Real cheap in most cases. Down below on the bottom side, passenger side on the floor, up underneath the glove box, usually in most cases. So that's the first step. Do we have the blower motor? Is the blower motor working? Okay, so there's that. Next step, the blower motor is working. You're blowing, you're blowing the blower motor's working, you're blowing air through the vents, you're set on heat, but it's still cold air. Okay, I have another video set up for a Chevy pickup that shows the blend door could be at fault. However, first things first, if the blower motor is working on all selections 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're going to step outside. We're going to take a look under the hood. This is really simple. Don't be intimidated. These cars are not, intelligent. They're just a hunk of steel. So, first thing you want to do is pull this radiator cap. As long as the engine is not hot. If it's been sitting for a while, put your hand on the upper radiator hose. Make sure this hose is not hot. Because if you open this cap here for the radiator while the engine is hot, you will, when the coolant is under pressure, the boiling point is decreased. So when you open this up, all of a sudden the coolant is not under pressure anymore, and it boils instantly, which will cause all the coolant that's under this cap to go boosh right in your face. And you know what? I've done this before. As embarrassing as it is, I felt the cap, I felt the hose, thought it was okay, untwisted the cap, got a face full of coolant. That's something you do not want to endure. Okay, safety first, right guys? So, the car is cold, it's been sitting for plenty of hours. You open this cap up. Just take a look, make sure the level's up, right? Okay, we got it's right up there towards the top. Because if you don't have coolant in your engine, how can it transfer heat through your heater core? Okay, so there we go. We see right there the radiator is full. Now we're going to take a look back here. this is the part where I would run the car for, you know, as long as it, you know, yeah, probably 10-15 minutes. Turn the heater on inside the car. This is the part where I'm going to come back here and we're going to look at between the engine and the firewall, which is, of course, the firewall is between the, you know, the back side of the engine and the passengers. There's, in almost all cases, there are heater core lines that come from the cooling system into the heater core, which the heater core is what transfers heat. The fan blows through the heater core. It's kind of like a miniature radiator. It gets hot, the fan blows through the radiator, and you know, blows heat into the passenger compartment. So we're going to take a look back here on this Hyundai, if I can get it. See, yup, there it is right there. There's two tubes. Right? There's two lines. Right here. There's 1 and 2. Right here. Bam, bam. Those two lines are the in and the out of your heater core. One line goes in and one line goes out back into the cooling system. What you want to do after your car's been running for a little while is feel those two lines. Feel what you're looking for is a temperature difference. It shouldn't be that great. If both those heater core lines are hot or warm, then you know when the blower motor blows through that heater core inside the cab that it should be blowing warm air. Okay, that's very important. The heater core, I've seen them where they can be plugged. Now, let me tell you something here. This heater core situation, if it comes to the point where you need to replace that on a lot of different vehicles, it's going to be incredibly expensive and time consuming. I've done some heater cores on vehicles that have taken me all day, 9-10 hours. I did one on a Saturn Vue not too long ago, and I had to take the whole dashboard apart. Now, that's not the case with every vehicle. Some vehicles they make it much easier to replace that, but in most cases you're actually dropping part of the heater box, to replace that core. So far we've checked, just to back up, so far we've checked the blower inside the car. Is the fan actually working? If it's not working on 1, 2, or 3, for all the settings, if it only works on one setting but not the rest, it's a blower motor resistor. Okay, so we've made the preliminary check. Well, first I guess I would start inside the car. The second thing you want to do, I guess, once you've realized, I guess before even checking those heater core lines, that your blower motor may not be working. If that is the case, if it does not work on all settings, look in your manual, check your fuses. Find the fuse for your blower motor inside the manual. Check that fuse. Make sure that the fuse is okay. Okay, that's probably the first thing you want to do. I kind of got ahead of myself here anyway, but realistically, now we're going to take another step forward. We've checked the blower motor. The blower motor, let's say, is fine. We ran the engine after checking to make sure the coolant level was up in the radiator. After running the engine for 10 or 15 minutes, getting it kind of up to temp, we've grabbed those heater core lines between the back of the engine and the firewall. In most cases, on almost every vehicle, it's going to be right there. Back side of the engine, between the engine and the firewall. Both those lines feel warm. Now, if you get to the point where you grab those two lines and one of them is warm and one of them is cold, you got a problem. You got a plugged heater core. Now, what you can do in that case is loosen one of those lines, well, both of those lines, and force water from your hose both directions through the heater core. That sometimes does it. But you can also use like an additive or a cleaner like CLR, which is supposed to dissolve lime and rust and calcium through there. You're not really going to hurt anything by doing that, but I mean, in a lot of cases, that's not going to be that's not going to solve your problem. Only because, unfortunately, your heater core probably needs to be replaced if it is plugged. I mean, you can probably improve that, but realistically, if you have heat on one side, one line going into the heater core, and cold on the other, you probably have to replace that heater core. Now, of course, like I said, there have been a couple instances where I've been able to back flush that heater core and correct that situation, but it's actually kind of rare. Okay. Another scenario is, I'm not trying to overwhelm you guys here, but feel free to pause it, take some notes or whatever you have to do. Another scenario is your engine is actually overheating and you have no, your radiator's full, your engine is overheating and you have no heat. Well, that's in most cases a thermostat. Thermostat, in this case, is right underneath this cover right here at the end of the upper radiator hose on this Hyundai. Right underneath this is going to be the thermostat. Okay? Thermostat, what that does is when the engine reaches a certain temperature, it opens and allows the coolant to pass into the engine, thus through the cooling system and into the heater. Now, if your engine is overheating, you're obviously not too worried about not having heat. So, if your engine is not overheating, this probably is not your issue. Okay. So, what we've gone through so far is, just to recap real quick, feel free to fast forward. Blower motor is working, radiator is full of fluid, heater core lines behind the engine, between the engine and the firewall are both warm. Well, you should have heat. Okay. I've instructed you so far as to if the heater core, one line is warm and one line is hot, you obviously have a blocked heater core. Okay. Another thing that is a possibility, and this is where things start to get a little bit complicated, sorry, are blend doors. Blend doors can be an issue. What a blend door does, we're going to go over here this time to this side. You have hot and you have cold. The blend door is what controls how much warm air versus how much cold air is going to be allowed to pass through, past the heater core or not. You know what I mean? So you could have a bad blend door actuator. Okay? Now there's ways to test those. If you have a GM, well, really, basically, diagnosing that is as simple as, well, it's not really simple, I guess. I have another video for a 99.5 Chevy pickup truck, kind of explaining that situation where the blend doors can stick, blend door motors can go bad, things like that. So if you get to this point, just to recap once again, I'm not trying to be redundant. You have heat on all selections, low to high. You have under the hood, you have a full radiator, you have both heater core lines warm going into the heater core. You should have heat, bottom line. So at this point, I'd be looking at the blend door actuator. Okay? So on your particular vehicle, you might want to Google this, find out where your blend door actuator is. In some cases, they're really easy to get to. In a lot of cases, they're on the bottom side of the heater box. It's not real hard to get to them. Well, it's never really easy to get to them, but it's something you can do. Don't be intimidated. Just Google it. Find out on your particular vehicle where your blend door actuator is, and pop it down. And you can bring it to a parts store, and they may be able to test it for you. Probably not. However, if you do buy a brand new blend door actuator, and that doesn't solve your problem. In most cases, if you keep your receipt, you can return that part to the parts store. Generally, that is going to solve the steps we've just taken are going to solve your problems. Now, in some cases, the blender actuator is not easy to get to. Some cases, it's way up here, underneath the dash, way up, you know. In some cases, you may actually have to pull the air box, the entire air box out from under the dash to get to it. Again, Google your particular vehicle, find out where your blender actuator location is. If we get this far, okay. Another thing I'm going to take a look at, just for giggles. I've seen, especially on GM vehicles, some of the climate controls on GM vehicles are pretty, especially on this Buick over here, the Rendezvous, are pretty intense. If you have controls that are not functioning properly, that's another issue entirely. There could be a situation on a particular vehicle where all these special, this is nothing right here. I mean, I'll show you. In this Buick, this is a Rendezvous. Pardon me. Oh, well. This is dual climate control. And it's got this big ass screen right in the middle, and everything is completely digitized. There's no vacuum operated actuators or anything like that. Everything is, this system can go bad, easily. I mean, this one here is kind of touchy. The passenger side, if you try to rotate from the warm to the hot selection of the passenger side, sometimes it just doesn't take. You have to play with it to get it to go over. So these can fail too. But generally, what I'm trying to do here is to help you diagnose your cooling or your heating system, because if you live in Minnesota like me, you gotta have heat. So, fuses. Make sure you check your fuses. Look in your owner's manual. For blower motor fuses. I mean, these are things you can just follow this video. These are things you can do that will save you a lot of money. You take this to a shop that's getting $75 an hour, and they sandbag it and work on your car for 4 hours. I mean, wow, just to find a pop fuse, or who knows what they find compared to what they tell you. So, if there's any questions, just make a comment down in the comments section, and I'll try to get to them. But I'm just trying to approach this no heat situation. I hope I can help some people, and I guess that's going to be it. I'm gonna cut it off here. Again, if I can elaborate, please leave a message down below in the comments section, and I will get to it if I can. Otherwise, I hope I've helped some people, because I'm trying to combat the prices, some outrageous prices of some of these shops, as best I can. Trying to spread some good karma here, so I appreciate the view, and have a good night, and drink a beer for me. Thanks.